Hello everyone, welcome back to TechMac channel. Today we are diving into something super exciting, Bazzite OS on the ROG Ally. You can actually ask, ROG Ally already coming with Windows operating system. Why we need to install Bazzite OS on ROG Ally? By end of the video, you will be learning why we need to have a Bazzite OS on the ROG Ally. Before diving into the details, we will see what is Bazzite OS. Bazzite is an open source Linux distribution that is designed as an alternative to SteamOS. Bazzite is based on the Fedora Linux rather than the Arch Linux. The main difference between the Fedora Linux and the Arch Linux is actually in the release cycle. Fedora Linux is having a predetermined release cycle. Arch Linux is actually a rolling release cycle. Other than the release cycle, actually both are Linux distribution softwares. Bazzite developed by the Universal Blue developer. I think this information is actually sufficient for understanding the Bazzite. We will actually move on to having the Bazzite on the ROG Ally. Let me turn on the device. I have installed Bazzite OS as an dual booting operating system. I have Windows on one partition, then I have a Bazzite on the another partition. The instruction for installing Bazzite on ROG Ally is available in YouTube. I don't think so. Here I need to explain that. Bazzite gaming OS distribution is similar to other Linux distribution. The major difference is it comes pre-installed with an gaming emulators as well as the tools needed to run the games. Bazzite is coming with actually a two UI. It comes with KDE Plasma and Genome. I have installed the KDE Plasma here. With the Bazzite OS, we can run the games in multiple ways. In first way, we can bare minimum install this Bazzite OS. Then we can use the emulator whatever pre-installed with the Bazzite OS. Configure the emulator, copy your ROMs and run the games. That is the one way. The second way, instead of using the pre-installed emulator, you can download the latest version of the emulator from the internet and configure the emulator. Then optionally, right, you can use this any front end. Here I am using the Emulator Station desktop edition as a front end to run my games. So similarly, you can use this any front end to run the game. It is always to better get the latest version of the emulation from the internet and run rather than using whatever coming with an operating system, because the things that come with an operating system might be an outdated one. So it's always good to download the emulator from the internet and run the game. The third way of configuring and running games through Emudec. Emudec is a tool which is available for both the Windows and Linux operating system. The community version of Emudec is free, but if you want an Emudec early access, you need to actually join Patreon. By using the community edition, you can configure the emulator and games like whatever you needed. The Emudec is also having the Steam ROM manager. Through the Steam ROM manager, you can inject the emulator and games so that the games and emulators will be available on your Steam non-libraries. Optionally, right, you can also combine with an the front end like an emulation station. So here actually I have configured with the Emudec, then Steam ROM manager plus the emulation station. You can ask why we need to install the Bazzite OS in ROG Ally when ROG Ally already coming with a Windows 11 operating system. The Emudec and the Steam software as well as the emulation disk is also available for a Windows platform. We can actually do exactly same configuration like an Bazzite in Windows also. But there are two reasons why I am preferring the Bazzite instead of the Windows. The first reason is performance. Windows operating system itself is a heavyweight operating system. It's going to use like most of the resources to run the operating system itself. Then it will allocate the remaining resource to run your emulators as well as the games. Because it's allocating the less resources for emulation and games actually maybe running slow. You may be actually feeling like when you run the higher end games on the emulation, you may be actually feeling running slow. That is one reason. The second reason actually the feel. Because Windows operating system itself is just a desktop operating system, so installed on the handheld, which means that right, it's going to behave like exactly like a desktop, right? So it's not actually that much convenient. It is not also designed for running games, right? So when you look and feel of the Windows operating system, you always feel like a desktop. you won't feel like a console. But when you install the Bazzite OS, you feel like it is actually a handheld console, because by using this emulate and emulation station, right? So we can configure it like a Nintendo console, right? So you can configure like a Nintendo console. So you always feel like you are running a game on the console instead of the desktop machine. Bazzite coming with two mode. The one is the desktop mode, other one is the gaming mode. Whatever you are seeing is an desktop mode. In desktop mode, you can actually install all your emulator. You can configure emulator, then copy the ROMs. So whatever the configuration that you want to do to run your games, you can do in desktop mode. Then after you configure your emulator and games, you can actually go to the gaming mode to run the games. Since the games are actually configured to run via emulation station, you can directly run the emulation station games from the desktop itself, like this. You don't have to actually go to the gaming mode to run it, right? So this is actually one way of running the game. Let me quit from here. So but I always like to run the emulation station through the Steam. I'm just moving to gaming mode. So gaming mode will start the Steam software. So under the Steam software, if you directly configure the games, you can actually run from the non-Steam library menus, or you can actually start the emulation station software. So I am going to start the emulation station software here. So when you start the emulation station software, the Steam is going to act as another layer on top of the emulation station. So right now, so the emulation station is running on top of the Steam, right? So I can actually go to and run any games. Yeah, let me run some PSP game, or here, or PlayStation 2 games. The reason actually why I want to use the emulation station on top of the Steam, because the exit functionality that's going to be very smooth, like when you run on emulation station on top of Steam. For example, if you want to actually exit a game, so you have multiple options. So if I want to exit the game from here, I can actually bring the Steam menu. From Steam menu, I can actually exit the game here. But this option won't be available when you run the game directly from the emulation station. Sometime what will happen, because the games so if they configure incorrectly, or if they abruptly stopped, then there won't be any option exiting from the emulation station. You have to restart the whole system itself. But when you run the emulation station on top of the Steam, because Steam is going to give an option to exit the game, so it's very easy to exit. So I'm going to start the emulation station again. Okay, I will start some simple game, maybe some PSP game. So since the Bazzite essentially is not using that much resources, like most of the resources will be allocated for running the emulators and games, right? So also the Bazzite actually have the distribution for ROG Ally and ROG Ally X. So that the features of the ROG Ally it can be utilized. For example, that 120 Hz screen refresh, then the TDP adjustment, those are also we can actually utilize through Bazzite.
We recommend that you first visit the driving challenge to hone your driving skills.
I'm just going with an default options to run the game. if I have to actually exit this game, right, so I have two options. So I can actually just exit the game, go back to the emulation session, or I can actually, right, go to the Steam, right, by going to the Steam menu. So I can exit from the emulation session itself, right. So this particular Steam, right, so it's going to have give a multiple option for us to actually run the game. So that's why, I always like to run the emulation session on top of the Steam instead of directly running from the desktop. Yeah, the gaming mode is basically the same as running the big picture mode on the Steam. Because it is just a Steam software, right? You can also run your Steam library directly from here, right? So you don't have to actually go to another place to play your Steam games. You can run both your Steam games as well as your ROM, right, in a single place. So this basic operating system, right, is also giving an option, right, to do multiple settings like an Steam, right? So the Steam Deck. So you can here you can easily adjust your brightness, audios, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi settings. You can also configure your controllers, right? Then it's also having the performance, right? So you can actually enable the layouts, right? So when you want to show the performance, right, at top of your running game, you can also enable here. Then we have frame rate limit. You can limit the frame limit. You can I'm just setting it to 60 fps. Then we can also enable VAR, ROG Ally, right? Supports VAR, so we can also set that. Then you can set the TDP limit, right? Up to 30 watts. 30 watts you can set, based on the gaming weightness. You can actually set the TDP. Then for retro games, right? So also we have a scaling mode. Then scaling filters also available. If you are running a retro games, you can also configure this one. So this Bazzite OS, right, is giving an option similar to your Steam Deck, SteamOS, to do multiple things on gaming mode, right? Then we also have the left side for an Steam options, you can do go to your Steam library. So whatever the Steam options, right, that you can actually pull it from the left side. If you want to actually go to the desktop mode, you can just go to the power and you can go to the desktop mode. Okay, I'm going back to the gaming mode. The Bazzite OS is actually using the handheld daemon software, right, to control the TDP and the refresh rate, right, for ROG Ally. The alternative to the Bazzite projects are the Chimer project. The another one is a Nobera project. So I have not actually installed and personally tested those, but when I see the review, people are mostly debating between the Bazzite and Chimera. So they are not actually even considering the Nobera project. Bazzite is actually also having the few drawbacks, especially for the keyboard, virtual keyboard configuration, right? So in desktop mode, Bazzite is not able to pull the virtual keyboard whenever it's needed. So it's not actually that convenient to pull up the virtual keyboard. So we need to configure our emulation and the ROMs, right, only through the desktop mode. So since desktop mode actually is not pulling the virtual keyboard on prompt, it's a little bit actually I found difficulties on setting up. But the latest version of Bazzite is 42. The people are saying in 42 this has been improved actually, right? So they are able to pull up the keyboard easily. I have just installed the 42 today morning, right? So I need to still test that. I always use this Bluetooth keyboard and mouse just to configure the games. Once you configure the emulator games, you can just go to the gaming mode. Then there is no much need of the keyboard or the mouse, right? So you can just use this controller to execute to play the games. I find that Bazzite is a convenient actually way to play my games, instead of the going through Windows. Particularly, right, because the Windows need an authentication, right? So if you put the Windows on the sleeping mode, right, so when you take it off, you have to actually give an credential, right? So that is actually not needed for a Bazzite. For example, okay, if I have to actually stop the game, right, then I can actually just, when I wake up, it's going to actually be there, right? So it's also actually not consuming the battery like in Windows on standby. If you can put it standby for a long time, so the battery is not going to quickly drain and stop the system, right? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I will see you soon in another interesting video. Till then, bye guys.